All right, finally on today's town hall, we know that testing is an important way to fight back against the COVID-19 pandemic. We do way more testing now than, of course, we did early on in all of this. We do a lot more testing than many other places around the world, but one group says it's still insufficient.
The Association of American Medical Colleges is calling for an updated new approach to not only test but also track and trace this virus. The AAMC says we need a national testing strategy so it's the same in all the states. And joining us live to discuss is Heather Pierce. She is AAMC's Senior Director and Regulatory Counsel. Nice to have you on the show. Thanks for sharing your time with us.
Thanks for having me.
So the COVID tracking project says that yesterday, as a country, we did 1.1 million tests. We've done almost 130 million since this began, and that sounds like a lot. Why do you think that we need more, and what are some of the key points among your recommendations?
It does sound like a lot of tests, but as we look at the cases increasing in every single state now, very, very rapidly rising, we know that something's not working. And we need more tests, partly because this virus travels through people from person to person, and it doesn't make everyone sick. So if we just use symptoms or hospitalizations, we don't know where the virus is, and we can't quickly take measures to get it to suppress the virus. So what we need is more testing, not just for people who have symptoms or have been in contact with other people who are known to be infected, but to screen organizations and institutions so that we know how to reopen safely and confidently, whether that's a K-12 school, colleges and universities, nursing homes and businesses. So we need to be doing screening testing at a much higher rate than we're doing, and we need to be doing it all the same way.
Yeah, you're pushing for that national strategy, all doing it the same way, and we understand why, but here in New York, we have been far and away better than the rest of the country. A ton of testing happening here. What would you say to someone here who worries that if we have to follow the rest of the U.S., that it could end up meaning less testing here?
It's a great point. I think what we need to do is bring together the best minds, the best thinkers from across the entire country. Lots of stakeholders, so not just the federal government dictating what to be done, but from the states that have shown some extraordinary results in testing, and to learn what we know, to learn and move forward. We know so much more than we did at the beginning of this pandemic. And it's states like New York that have done a terrific job in testing that can help guide us to where we need to be next.
I want to ask you a little bit about the human element of all this, because people are already dealing with COVID fatigue as it is. And while some people are all in with whatever needs to be done, others are not, and they may say this is just one more thing. Can you give us a sense of the impact that having a national testing approach could really have? Because I think sometimes people don't really understand unless they can really hear, this is how this is going to affect me personally.
Right. Well, there is a lot of testing happening already. So it's really coordinating in the same way, so we don't have different states and different labs competing for testing supplies. So whether you're able to get a test or whether you're regularly screened for the virus shouldn't depend on where you live. It should depend on a set of criteria that's implemented the same way. And so the testing that we do, everyone who is symptomatic, everyone who's in contact with someone who's infected should get a test. That should be our highest priority. And then we should be moving forward. We know what we're doing now as a country is not working because we're seeing this virus race through every state, and even those that have been doing so well through this long months are starting to see very worrisome rises in cases just in the last few weeks.
We have literally about 30 seconds left. Can you talk more about those supplies? I mean, when you do more testing, you need more swabs, you need reagent, you need the kits, the machines, the staffing. How do you overcome all that?
Absolutely. That's why we need a coordinated effort. This shouldn't be an issue where different states, different labs use their own market connections to try to figure out how to do this. We should figure out what do we need, where do we need to send it, and how do we invest in the technology to create different supplies, different tests, faster and cheaper tests. And then how do we use those tests and the results from the tests to do what we know what we need to do to keep this virus down? Wearing masks, socially isolating when people are infected, keeping distance, and just understanding we are going to get through this, but we all have to take responsibility.
Pierce is with the Association of American Medical Colleges. Heather, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Thanks. And that's going to do it.